Hey guys, I noticed earlier that there was a post in the After Effects subreddit. Um, they showed this GIF. Let me load it here and you can see it. This Facebook-like animation that they liked a lot. We were wondering how to do it. Um, so, um, I, we're gonna do this all live. I haven't gone through and made this beforehand, so I know I'm doing. So we're gonna probably hit some bumps in the road here, but I want to make this um, as close as I can to what this guy looks like. So. Um, let's do this. We're going to start out just by copying this thumb directly with shape layers. So I'm going to grab my pen tool and make sure nothing's selected. So I create a shape layer with my pen tool, and we are just going to kind of create this thumb about as closely as we can. So just draw this thumb as closely as we can to using our pen tool here. There's a whole, if you're unfamiliar with how to use the pen tool, there is a specific video that I made kind of showing off the different uses of the pen tool. So um, I'll kind of go through that, and I'm just going to kind of draw this in. I'm going to kind of fix those later, fix that later, bring this around. Okay, so it looks like we have some adjustments to make. Obviously, it's kind of small, so when I zoom in, it gets nice and pixelated. So we'll kind of just make our best guess. I'm going to make this so it's essentially straight here, about as straight as I can make it. Looks good. Looks good. I know these are going to need some adjustments. Bring these back. Again, to adjust these Bezier lines, I'm holding Alt. So if you click on one of your path objects here, if you hold Alt, you can adjust a single Bezier line, because these kind of have to be inverted. Okay, so that's my thumb. If I zoom out here, I'm just going to scale this guy up so we make sure it looks good. Yeah, close enough, whatever. Okay, so now we need to do this. Honestly, we can just grab our rounded rectangle tool probably. And we'll just do this. Go back in here and adjust my path so it's not quite so round. That looks close enough. And then I'm going to hide this so when I go to my fill, I can just copy that right there. So when I hide it, it'll bring that up. I need to do the same with here. I'm going to hide this. I'm going to fill this with gray. Contents, shape 1, fill. I'm going to copy that gray right on top. Okay, cool. So now I have my thumb. Sweet, looks good. I'm going to slide my thumb over and just kind of copy what it does. So here's the original, here's my copy. Okay, so we're going to play through this piece by piece. Okay, so it looks, we're going to go to where it starts transforming here. So it looks like it does a 2 keyframe zoom down. Okay, so this is my hand. I think we can, it looks like the thumb does independently move there for just briefly. So you know what, we probably want to do the thumb separate, because if you look closely here, that thumb starts down and then gives a thumbs up, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to rename this wrist. I'm going to rename this hand. I mean, we could, if I hit UU, I'll bring up my path. We could animate this down and stuff like that, but honestly, let's cut this. Actually, let's save this for now. I'm going to duplicate my hand. And I'm going to name this thumb. And I'm going to wipe out all the other shapes within here. So I'm going to hide, let me ISO this. I'm going to get rid of, go to my path. I'm going to bring this, I I need to smooth this out. So if this one's my thumb, I need to clear out all this gunk. Right? We just focused on the thumb. So that's close enough. Okay. So we got our thumb. Now we need to go into our hand, and we need to get rid of anything that's not our thumb, or that's not our hand, essentially. So adjust this guy down. And on our thumb, maybe adjust this guy here. So it looks like in the example how this guy bends, though. See how this bends. So we'll fake it so it won't quite look like that. Ours will be a little more simple. We'll probably just rotate it in. But okay, so we got our thumb separate. So we got our thumb here and our hand here, right? So we can probably take our anchor point and kind of place it where it would bend. And when it bends, we'll probably just have it rotate. And maybe we need to bring this further down. We'll have it kind of thumbs up like this. That'll be easier. Okay. Now, let's do this. Let's kind of go frame by frame. Let's find where it starts. I'm going to use page up and page down to go frame by frame here. Okay, so we're going to start here. So I'm going to take all these guys. I'm going to pre-compose this for the big moves. So I'm just going to rename this hand. And it looks like this is the start of the keyframe where it zooms down and turns blue. Okay, so I'm going to go, first of all, on this hand. I need to try to figure out the best way to do this. We could, if we center anchor point, it's going to keep it here. I want my anchor point to be center here, so I'm going to go back before we actually pre-compose this. Let's keep them there for now. I'm just going to take these guys and parent them to my hand. I'm trying to think if that's really the best way to do it. I lied. Let's center our anchor points on here. So transform, center anchor points. So now they're all have their own anchor points centered. We know we're going to move this down to here. So, I mean, where we had our thumb. So when we rotate it, it'll come down. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this because I want that thumb to go down like that. The question is, oh, you can see how he's got a separate element for the thumb too. Sorry, I said he. I assume it's a boy, but let's just parent this all. It's the same thing. So, or pre-compose. So we will do it. We'll do hand, pre-compose. We'll go to the first frame where it starts out good. Next frame is where it goes down. So I want to push my anchor point right to the center of this hand pretty much. Okay. Again, using the pan behind tool, we can adjust where our anchor point is. I want to go, I'll hit scale, I'll do keyframe here, and I'll go forward to where it's gone, and I'll go down to 0. Okay. So that matches pretty good. And I want to turn blue. So I'm going to do a fill on my hand, and I'm going to copy the first color from here, and then I want this same keyframed animation here for color. So I'm going to hit UU to bring up anything I've ever changed. So I've got my color here. I'm going to keyframe this, my blue, and I want it to end up essentially just the next keyframe down. So to here, I'm going to copy this color here. So you can see through his. It looks like he used opacity to go down actually, which may be easier. Let's do that. I think opacity goes down instead of color. Let's find out. So I bring up my opacity. I'm going to hit Shift S to bring up my scale as well. So if I do a keyframe at 100% and a keyframe at 0, is that what it looks like at 50%? No, his goes blue. It is a color thing. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back. Oops, too far back. Too far back. Okay, so this is where I had my color. Okay, so that should match perfectly. Okay, so the next frame, again, if you look at this closely, we're not using any motion blur at all. Okay, no motion blur. So I want to make sure this is all off. Again, motion blur is great. Sometimes stylistically you don't want it. Okay, so now we need to do the circle animation. Okay, so we'll start with kind of just the outline because we know that's how big it's going to end up. So we'll do a new shape layer, and I am going to add an ellipse. I'm going to increase the size, try to match this about as perfectly as I can. About there. And there's a few different ways we can do this. It looks like it's probably going to be two circles. And we can almost do an alpha matte on this. So there's a bunch of different ways we can make this circle animation happen. Let's get a fill in here. We'll do it red. And I'm just going to hide it for now. Because I want to go and see. So it finishes its animation here. So this is when it gets done growing. So let's do a size here. It starts here. Okay. So let's bring this back up and shrink this down to when it fits it there. And there's nothing before that, so I'm going to crop this here. Okay, so there's nothing. Okay, so we got our beginning and end, but now we need to get our ramp about as close as possible. So if you look at this, let me hide what I'm building. If you look at how they do it, his starts out really fast. It grows from 0 up here really quick, and then it slows down a lot at the end there. Okay? And I think this inside one does the same thing. So we want this layer to do the same. So if I easy ease these and go into my ramp editor, I really want this to start very fast and end very slow. So right now, I want to just let's do speed instead of value. So I want this to start quick. So if this is my speed, this will be slow to fast. So I want to start fast. So I'm going to bring this all the way over, almost pretty much all the way, and slow down as much as I can. So it's going to start fast and slow. So if I turn this on, how do I do? I'm not starting fast enough. You can kind of see it lagging behind it. So let's go back to my size. This is all the way over. I think this is going to go all the way over too. Let's see how that works. That's pretty close. Okay. That's, I mean, if I put this down transparency wise, you can kind of see what we're doing. I brought my opacity to 8, so you can kind of see it faded on there, but that's about as close as it's going to get. Okay, cool. So we got that done. I'm going to shift this over now that we have the size so we can see side to side how this is looking. Okay, now we need to do the inside. So I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to use my alpha matte. I'm going to actually push it back in time to where that inside one shows up for the first time, which is there. I'm going to hide the first one I made. I'm going to push this back to where that shows up for the first time there. Okay? So if I turn these on, I'm going to make this one white just so you can see the difference. So this is essentially what we got. But his is white on here, which is fine. I want to make mine transparent, so it cuts this out actually. So if I can do that by making this alpha inverted here. So it'll cut out this circle. Okay, cool. I'm going to parent that to this so I can move it wherever I need to go. See, you can see mine's transparent, which is pretty dope. Okay, so I parented my alpha inverted matte to this, so when I move around my circle, it goes with it. I don't have to worry about messing up my alignment or anything. You can see it's a little off, but for the most part, this is going to look really close. It looks like his disappears a little faster than mine. And I think what he did is he brought this guy in. Yeah, he did. Maybe not quite that much. Maybe out one more. I don't think so. That's pretty close. Okay, and then that layer goes away after that, so we can hit Alt and right bracket to cut it off there, and I'll do that for this one as well. Okay. Looks good. So now we need to do the color change that he does. So I'm going to toss a fill on there. Fill on my shape layer. I'm going to copy that there. I'm going to create a keyframe as well. And I'm just going to kind of move over in time until he kind of finds his different colors. We'll go to his final color, which is this kind of tealish. And we'll dump that on there. It'll create, I'm going to hit U so you can see where these are popping up. Every time I change it, it'll automatically create a keyframe. So kind of go to where his next one is, which looks probably that color, maybe. Maybe that color. So I'll eyedrop that as well. That's pretty good. We can do every frame if we want since it's so short. Okay, cool. So our middle circle's done. Let's put that with our hand now. Where'd our hand go? There's our hand. I need to stack these on top of each other so they're both centered. I'll just do this. Take my shape layer, I'll put it directly in the center. Take my hand, put it directly in the center, and I'm going to move my example over. That way I don't get confused with what I'm doing. Okay. I feel like the color on here maybe gets a little off, so I'm just going to keep adding. Make sure that we don't miss any color changes. Just to be sure. Okay, so we got our color change. Looks good. Now we need to bring our thumb back in. So it starts here, probably 0 here. So we're going to go back to our hand now. And I'm going to copy or add another keyframe at 0 so it stays 0 for this period of time. I'm going to go forward until that hand is all the way up, which looks like it's there. It stops scaling there. Okay. So this scales up. And it looks like, what else did we change here? Our hand. Okay, so if you scale this up to 100, it looks like he pushes it past 100, so he's going to go up and then back down a little bit. Okay, so let's do maybe 120. Maybe 130. Just trying to get it to match as closely as possible. That looks about right. So I don't know if he, just based off of how this looks, comparing one to the other, I'm going to do a white background so we don't have this weird background thing going on. Okay, just looking at these two, let me loop this. I'm really trying to pay attention to the size difference between the thumbs to see if he ramps that up at all. Okay, so it comes up here, stays there, from here, doesn't move, comes back down there. So I need to copy this scale here. I don't want any movement there. Goes down to here, so maybe down to 85. We'll go forward, 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 forward until it stops there. Back up to 100. Okay, so let's loop that and see what happens. We're just focused on the thumb. That's actually pretty close. I think that's pretty close. I don't know if he ramps this at all or easy eases anything. Cool. All right, so sweet. So what else changes? Well, our color changed. Now we're bright blue. So what we were this color before, I need to keyframe. I need to change that. So by this point in time, I need it to be blue. Actually, this point in time, I need it to be blue. So let's do a color change here. So I'm going to add this keyframe. I'm just going to go back one frame so it just switches right there. And I need to, I'll eyedrop it here. And then I'll just override that one. I just slid this one back into its place. Okay. So when it comes back on, it's going to be that nice blue. Again, only focused on the thumb here. Okay, so now we need to do that nice subtle thumb movement. So it starts completely down here. We can go into the hand now. And as long as I stay my scrub tool here, when I go into my hand, it's going to stay my scrub tool at the same spot. So this is where my thumb needs to be down. So I'm going to go into my rotation, create a keyframe here. I'm going to go one frame or a couple frames back because I want it to be up until a couple frames back. So I'll bring it down here. It needs to be down at this point. Okay, we'll go back and go forward up until that thumb comes all the way up, which is about there. So by that point, I want my thumb to be rotated 0, so it should come up there. Okay. So again, the whole time my thumb's up. I mean, if I wanted to go where it disappears, I could change it to be down at that point. So while it's gone, it can kind of reload back down and then pop back up. Okay, so let's look at this closely. How does that look? It looks like there's motion blur on the thumb. I honestly can't tell. Let's go to the thumb. I'm going to turn motion blur on just for this thumb. Because it, well, I don't know. I mean, it looks cool because it kind of accentuates the thumb movement a little bit more. Okay, we'll keep it. Whatever. Okay, last piece, these little explodey bits. So it looks like there are squares and circles. And they explode outwards. And then they get smaller. Okay, so let's think about how we want to do this. They explode from here to here. Let's do a new shape layer. I'll start with a circle, so I'll do an add an ellipse. I want to make it very small, side by side, and I'm going to bring it straight down. Where does that start? So it starts right on the edge. Okay, and I want to fill that. And I'll copy the color with the blue. Okay, so we can do this by hand, or that's probably the easiest way to do it, just do it by hand. Okay, so we start here, it's the first time we see it, so I'm going to hit left bracket to slide it over. I'm going to go page forward to the end of where it ends. So it gets there and then it slowly, looks like it gets there to about there and then it scales out. So maybe drag this guy down to about here. So do a position keyframe here. We'll go back to the beginning. We'll set this guy up here. Okay, so here's the move. You can see though he moves a lot more distance in the beginning, which means this is probably going to have to be ramped. So we're covering a lot more distance in the beginning. So we're going to slide all these guys over. We're going to start fast and end slow. That's pretty close. It looks like he starts scaling down about here. So I'll do, and it looks like his anchor point is probably on the edge, like down here, because that's where it scales from. So I'll start my scale, go till you can't see it anymore to about there, and then I'll set this to 0. Looks like it gets smaller actually maybe here, so I'm going to bring that scale over here. And it looks like it starts slow and ends fast because it starts just a little bit and then it gets a lot faster. So actually let's go frame by frame and just look at size. That's pretty good actually. My starting keyframe is a little weird now, so okay. Actually his is like to the side a little bit. Okay, so now we need to do the color change. So let's do the fill, and we'll just start back here, copy it, create a keyframe. We're going to go back in time, copy that there, go back in time, copy that there. So now they should match pretty closely. Cool. I like it. Okay, so rather than redo all that, let's just duplicate it. I'll name this blue circle. This is going to be my ring. I didn't rename all this, so forgive me. Ring mat. I got my hand, and I got the original GIF. Original. Okay, so I duplicated that, and the same thing happens over here where there's circles over here as well. It looks like they're offset in their timing, so I'll find the layer where this one starts, and I'm going to push this one back to where I first see that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is just change the position values of these. So bring up my position. Looking at this, I don't know why this position adjusts on this last one. I think I messed that up. So let me hide this and go back to my blue circle. Did I add a keyframe in there on accident? Yeah, I did. I need to delete that guy. Extra keyframe, not needed. Okay, so let's hide that blue circle. Bring up our new one. This is going to be, well, I guess it's blue when it starts. This one's going to be light blue. So light blue circle. Kind of hard when they all change. And I'm just going to change the position over these go. So again, that was a bad one. So we'll change the start to this top corner. I'm going to remove my toggle mask and shape path visibility. So this is going to be up in the corner up here to start. And when it finishes, sure. It's not going to be perfect, but you get the idea. All right. And now let's adjust our colors. So my color here, if I zoom in, it's going to be that. And as I go back in time, my next big color is probably there. I need to delete these old ones. Start fresh here. Let's steal that one. See how much that lines up now. That looks pretty good. I'm going to make sure that my anchor point is on the outside because that's where it shrinks from. Oh, that's what it was. When I adjusted my anchor point, that messed it up. So I'll do my anchor point from the outside. It's going to change my start value now that my anchor point's out there a little bit. So do that. I think I push it out too far. I think my ending point's too far out here. Sure. And honestly, what we can do is we can put these back over the original as closely as we can. Oops. I'm going to make a null. Null object mover, and I'm just gonna parent all these to this so I can shift these over without adjusting any position values of specific spots. Okay, so that's about right on top. So you can see how off I was on that one. So if I go back to my starting ones, I can get these a lot more spot on here. Bring up P, go to the end. See, I was way off. Bring that down here. Okay, pretty close. How did I do on the bottom one? Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, so you see I'm not perfect, but we're getting there. It's mostly just for how would you do this. Okay, let's go to my bottom blue one. I'm going to duplicate it. This is going to be orange square. Oh, I was hiding my blue circle. Let's adjust this then too. My position needs to shift to here. My ending position also needs to shift over. Okay, so we're just trying to get close. Okay, sweet. Let's hide these guys. Let's focus on just this orange for now. So right now I just copied this guy. I want to adjust it. So instead of it being a ellipse under contents, we want to add the rectangle. And we want that rectangle to be 13 because that's how big our circle was. And we want it to be rotated, which might confuse things a little bit. So if we rotate it -45, that's how big that one is. And then we will go to our position and just move this into the position that this guy is. And move it to its ending position. Oops. No. Bad square. There you go. And again, we're going to have to adjust the anchor point, put it on the outside edge. That's going to move where our starting point is. So go back to our starting point, make sure we're still good there. Okay. I'm going to hide this, and we're going to adjust color. So I'm going to go to U. I'm going to wipe out all the color adjustments we've made thus far. And I'm just going to kind of arrow along and eyedrop onto this as it goes. Oops. Sorry, I got to do a keyframe first. Eyedrop. Go forward a few frames. Eyedrop. Go forward a few frames. Eyedrop. Oh, this actually never changes color, so never mind. We don't need to do that. Okay, I think we're done with that. I'm going to bring it back up for orange square. So those are on top of each other now. That's pretty close. It looks like these go away a little faster, so I might adjust my scale to come a little quicker. Okay. All right, I'm going to hide that. What else we got? We got another one, another square over here. So I'm going to duplicate my orange square. I'm going to name this pink square. Bring up my position. Actually, let's do probably anchor point first. Let me show it. I know my anchor point's going to be on the bottom right outside, so I might as well adjust that now. It's going to be over here, right? I'll adjust my position over here. Go to the end. Put it right on top. Let's go to color. Fill color. Oops, that's my rectangle fill. I want to do my effects color because that's going to overwrite it. I will do start at the beginning. We'll do a keyframe. I'm going to hide this layer, and we'll eyedrop right on top of the pink. Go forward. Never changes. We're good. Okay. What else we got? We got circles all up the top. Okay. So this circle arrives at the same time this one does. So I'm going to copy my light blue that's up here, duplicate it. I'm going to show it. I know that I got to move my anchor point. It's going to be the outside over here, so I might as well move that first because that'll affect the position. Okay, bring up P for position. Get to my starting point. And actually this scale up just maybe a little bit more. Looks like it's a little bit bigger, so oops. I'll be right on top of my scale there. So maybe 105. Let's go back to P for position. I need to put this right on top. Again, we need to scale it up just a hair more, but let me get the end done here. Put the end over here. I'm going to hit Shift S to bring up scale as well to make sure that these go down about the same. Yeah, they do. Okay, so my movement's a little off over here. So he might have, it's like he moves greater distances here, but didn't I? Yeah. Huh. He's a little bit quicker. Maybe he finds its final resting spot a little bit faster. Maybe I shift this guy over. Try to line it up. Okay, close enough. All right, let's do color. I'm going to hit UU. We want to do effects, fill, color. I'm going to wipe all those out by hitting the keyframe button. Do a new one. I'm going to hide the layer so I can see this. Keep eyedrop there. Go forward to where it gets to its grain. I'll do another one there. Okay, so I'll show mine. Pretty much the same thing. Looks good. Okay, I'll hide that. We have one last one at the top here doing the same thing. Okay, I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to name this yellow circle. Show it. I know my anchor point needs to be at the top because that's where it's going to go from. I'm going to put it right over a position keyframe so it doesn't mess anything up on us. Okay. Position 1. It doesn't actually show up until the next keyframe, so I need to slide this whole layer over one. I'll align it with my position. And I'll go to the end with my position move here. So I made it faster on this one. I'm not sure if this does the same movement because I don't know if that's going to line up very well. I don't think this one goes as fast, so I'm going to bring it, make it a little slower to match up with the other ones. Man, this is an evil position thing, so. And I'll put it about here. Come on. There we go. Is that all the farther it goes? Yeah, close enough. Okay, we're going to hide this and do color. Starting color here. Ending color, this blue. And I think we're done. I'm going to hide my original, bring up everything else, and see how we did. That's pretty dope, I'm not going to lie. That's pretty cool. Whoever made this did a really awesome job. I can't do stuff like this from scratch. This is pretty incredible. So let's find where this ends and trim this down. And everything's parented to this mover, so I can use this to position everything. I'm going to put this back in the middle. I'm going to scale this up. You can see when it scales up, you lose some quality if I zoom in 100%. Just want to make sure that my hand is continuously rasterized as well. That'll make this nice and crisp. By default, it's not. So even though we're using a hand-drawn vector layer. If this isn't on, it treats it just like any other layer that you bring in, like a picture or anything like that. So they're continuously rasterized here where I built the wrist, but if I dive back out, I need to bring this over to make sure it continues that. So let's go back to 100%. I'm going to remove my grid, see how we did. Very cool. Very cool. I like it. All right, I hope that helps. That was a really cool animation. I just want to see if we could recreate it and how we would do that as best as possible. So, the end goal would be to be able to create something like this from scratch, but my God, that's hard. So this is on a whole nother level.